I begin with the end in mind, and I recommend, if you're listening to this podcast, that you do the same, because it's worked for many, many years. Begin with the end in mind. Ask these 3 questions and allow these 3 questions to curate how you develop your content. Number 1, and this information can come from your host if someone's hosting you and you're a guest speaker, or it can come from you if it's your podcast or your event. And question number 1 is, how do I want my audience to feel when I'm finished? What do I want them to think when I'm finished? And what action do I want them to take when I'm finished? The answer to those 3 questions helps to curate all the content. Most people develop their content forward as opposed to reverse engineering and creating the outcome and then reverse engineering the conversation and the stories to fit that outcome. So based on that outcome, based on the answer to those 3 questions, I first pick my stories. I always, even when I speak for you, I pick my stories first, and then I curate my content around the stories. Why? Because the stories are going to be the part that they most grab a hold to. They're going to take pictures of the slides. They're going to take notes, but the stories are going to anchor them into this was for me. So I start with my stories. I've been doing that for 27 years. I start with my story. And then around my stories, I build, and I don't try to go past, for the most part, when I'm doing a 20-minute or a 40-minute keynote, even an hour, I won't try to go past 3 points. Because if I try to go past 3 points, I'll shrink the story, I'll shrink the intro, you don't realize how much of a message outside of content is important for your audience. So if I curated a keynote, and let's just say it's 20 minutes, and it could be on video, it could be my own keynote hosted by just me. I'm going live for 20 minutes. And it could be a keynote on your stage, 20 minutes. I would curate them the exact same way. Whether I'm doing it just on a live stream, or whether I'm doing it on a podcast, or whether I'm doing it on stage, same way. Number 1 is a welcome. Make people feel seen. You got one job when you open up. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Stephen Covey. How do I let my audience know that I see them? That's your first question. You want to know, how can I let my audience know that I see you? You can do it several different ways. 1, you come in and you pay homage and acknowledgement. I'm so grateful that you're here. You can spend your time anywhere, and you've decided to spend it with me. My goal is that the next 20 minutes or 40 or an hour, whatever your time is, I make it worth your while. Not I hope, my intention, my goal. So pay homage, whatever way that looks like, or start with humor, something that gets them laughing, releases endorphins. Laughter in comedy is generous, right? People are grateful for laughter. So it could be comedy. It could be reflection. Oh my God, you look amazing. I wish you could see what I see when I look at you. So an acknowledgement if it's to a live audience. So that's your welcome. Let people feel seen. And then I go right into my story, right into my incident, right into that moment, so that they know why I qualify to be in front of them. Now remember, well, most people may not know, when you tell a story, there's 3 parts, right? There's the big you, and the big you is important because it builds your credibility. But you have to do the big you in such a way that it honors your humility, or else you won't do a big enough you. Like you're very humble, like you're super humble, you're super gracious. There's no way you would do a big enough you if we didn't design that intro to be the way the intro is. And that intro is, I'm blown away. I'm blown away that my company has generated $100 million in revenue. I'm blown away that I have 8 bestsellers. I'm blown away that I've been on every national media that exists. I'm blown away. Notice that intro, or what people may know about me is. And then there's a second part. That's the big you. The second part is because what most people don't know is. And then that's that moment in time that was an all-time low. You want to show it. You want to give it a date, give it a moment, and you unpack it. And you show me versus tell me. I was nervous. I was afraid. I felt lost. and you unpack that moment in time, and then you come out. I told you it was 3 parts to the valley. You know this very well. The big U, the low point. Then the other side is, and this is why I do what I do. The reason why I teach people how to play their biggest game is because I needed to learn how to play mine first. The reason why I'm committed to help as many transformations occur as possible is because I know that transformation can change lives. Now that's your why. So big U, low point, and then your why. That's the front end of your message. And it should only be 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. All of that should be 3 minutes. If you stretch to 5, you're really pushing it, but you can go to 5. And then the next part after that are, what are the points you want to teach me? Mm-hmm. And then follow that is, how do you inspire me? And inspiration comes from a story. Inspiration comes from poems. Inspiration comes from, my grandmother told me, I love to do my grandmother stories. And then there's a close. No matter where you are, Ajit, you can do that layout. And now I find that people who are going on big stages and small stages, they just want to know, how do I put it all together? And once you have a framework, you don't have to make it up. And once you don't have to make it up, you don't have to be nervous. And once you don't have to be nervous, you get to show up and show your genius more.